Beyoncé did not win Album of the Year for Renaissance. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is because a lot of the people that are on this channel love Beyoncé. I know that because I do a lot of Beyoncé videos. And I know that as fans, a lot of us are processing this event. And I just kind of wanted to show you guys a little bit of my thought process in all of this. Now, I'm going to give a caveat and say that everything that I have to say is my opinion. Do I have an informed opinion? I think I have a little bit more of an informed opinion. I wouldn't say that this is something that I fully researched out and thought through. So there could be holes in my opinion, but I'm going to give my opinion nonetheless. Here's the thing. There are two sides to Beyonce's loss that I see, and I feel like it's going to be important to think about the two of them together. So I'm going to flip-flop between giving you the dark side and the bright side. And I'm actually going to start with the dark side. Black songwriting and Black music creation methods are only celebrated by Grammy voters when it comes from somebody that appeases traditionally white composition methods. In my observation of the Grammys, it seems that when people play a live instrument, if their songs were recorded with live musicians, I tend to see that those works are more celebrated. Now that's not all that, Black songwriting and composition methods are. What I see being snubbed most of the time is, Black creativity. I do a lot of vocal run breakdowns on this channel. Vocal performance and vocal caliber when it comes to not just a powerful voice, but a voice that is creative. I'm going to use that word. Voices that explore different melodies, explore different backgrounds, especially the way that Beyonce did in Renaissance. I tend to see those compositional methods snubbed more so. This is in terms of their big awards, like, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Record of the Year. If it takes a level of effort to understand it, it doesn't fit in the traditional world, and thus it doesn't deserve to be celebrated. That is what I see on the dark side of this event. I'm not gonna use the word loss as much, but I'm just gonna call it an event. Now, the bright side of Beyonce not winning Album of the Year. Black art, as in music and, art forms that are created for Black people, will always be most valuable to those it is for. Those who it's not for have the opportunity to enjoy it if they want to. And if they don't, their lack of appreciation doesn't have to be welcomed in a Black appreciative gaze. Let's be honest, Beyonce isn't rejected in all spaces, right? But in the places where her art is either rejected or not regarded or given the esteem that is required, I don't think that it's healthy for us to welcome that lack of appreciation into a Black appreciative gaze where, Black art is given its appreciation. And I think this is why spaces like the Soul Train Awards, places like the BET Hip Hop Awards, places where Black people are judging Black music, I think those spaces are going to be all the more very important. And I think it does a disservice also to the historical moment that Beyonce had at the Grammys in becoming the most Grammy award-winning artist ever.
Breaking the record for the most Grammy wins of all time. Be upstanding and show your respect. It's Renaissance, Beyonce.
Like, when we focus on what didn't happen, it actually takes away from the historical moments that did happen. And congratulations, Beyonce. Black celebration does not have to be rivaled by celebration by traditionally white institutions. Now, going back to the dark side. Again, this is all my opinion. This is allegedly. Singers are regarded as subintelligent musicians, and their understanding of music is seen as inferior to that of instrumentalists. I've seen this in my own spaces, whether it be in university, whether it be in church. Actually, I see that people that are instrumentalists that play some type of instrument tend to see the musical intelligence of singers as less than. I feel like there's that might be a little bit of a factor that's at play here. Like, when I look at the Grammys, I see that singers that play instruments, I guess have more of a scope in terms of their own musicality when it comes to playing an instrument. I tend to see those people celebrated and pushed to the front more so. Maybe because they speak all the languages when it comes to, being a singer versus being an instrumentalist. Now, Beyonce plays some piano, so it's not like she doesn't play anything at all. But I see that Beyonce is a singer first. You know, I feel like people use the ability to play an instrument as a form of power. And I see that not just in the Grammy space, but in just in musical spaces in general. And I feel like that's a factor that's at play here. I don't think this is just, you know, a racism thing, although race is a part of it, in my opinion. In my opinion. Now, the bright side. Gratitude and mindfulness will always spin the odds in your favor. And when you don't win, there's always a way to win. For me, I was extremely impressed. Beyoncé hadn't necessarily not won the award at that point, but the air that Beyoncé was on, like, just see how grateful she wanted to be.
Thank you, God. I'd like to thank my Uncle Johnny.
Specifically how grateful she wanted to be. It seemed like she took a position of gratitude. Like she really wanted to drink in the moment to celebrate her album. And I feel like that attitude is to be modeled. My last dark side. Sampling is seen as a remedial form of music creation to Grammy voters. What do I mean when I say sampling? I mean, you know, taking from a master recording that has already been recorded and using that in your music. In hip hop, it's really, really popular and it's a beautiful art where you'll hear someone, you know, pitch up a song or whatever, and they'll, you know, chop and screw it or, you know, take bits and pieces of it and, you know, play it. Now, also sampling can also be, you know, where people have recorded a specific instrument and they, you know, you're able to map it out on the keyboard. Like, at least in what I've seen and like have read, even like a little Variety article that came out right before the Grammys, it seems like Grammy voters, in my opinion, seem to not really like sampling. I don't think that there's something inherently wrong with that, especially as a live musician, somebody that plays an instrument. I can see that sampling is starting to take over when it comes to actually playing live music. But if your hate of sampling or if your disdain for sampling causes you to not be able to see the art that is in it, that's when I have a problem. And that's where I think that things get clouded. And my final bright side, I think this one is going to be the most important. When esteem is withheld, or when praise is withheld, history and culture will always tell the correct story. History has a way of telling the truth. And I think that Beyonce's career is going to be able to speak for itself. You know, I want, especially in my own consideration of all this, especially as a musician and even, you know, with my masters, like, you know, the tug of war between, you know, black and white music. I'm going to make this specific because this has to do with the United States and with the Grammys and the tension between black and white music creation. It is strong. And for me, when I look at the grand scheme of things in terms of history I feel is going to tell the right story. I think we just need to let it. Beyonce doesn't need to win Album of the Year for her to have the Album of the Year. And I think it's time, and I know for myself, I think it's time that I stop putting my hope in people to actually ascribe the right accolades to the people that deserve it. And first of all, I'm not going to diminish the fact that Harry Styles had a great album, but I feel like there was an error here. And because of that, I'm going to let history do its work. Now, you know, who's going to tell the story of history? You know, media, you know, biases when people report, etc., so forth. When you know, you know. And people know that Beyonce and Renaissance was an absolutely historic moment, to the way that it was DJ'd, from its transitions to the background vocals. History needs to tell this story. This video is more about me processing. This is my process. I'm trying to let go of that loss and also allow the loss to mean something in terms of the bright side of black music, because black music is going to be here for a while. I want it to be celebrated, and I also want to give the shine to the historical moment that Beyonce had at the Grammys. So yeah, I want the comments to be an open, safe space for you guys to talk about how you guys are processing this too. I know that a lot of you are Beyonce fans, so I want you guys to be able to do that. So yeah, this is just me sharing my heart and sharing my thoughts. What do you think? I'll see you guys in another video. Bye everyone.